Morning, everyone. My name is Ryan Goodfellow. I'm with Rock Structures Utility and Excavating out of Utah. Hope everybody's joining in today and having a good day so far. But I'm your live stream host. It's my first time here at the Utility Expo. Some of the things that are different here, you can actually go out and run the machines. It's kind of interesting because yesterday I told some people, yeah, you can do whatever you want to do here. You go run the machines, go see how things are done, whatever. But pretty cool to be a part of this. You see the drills going through rocks out there, hammers going through the holes, so pretty cool. But it's not why we're here. We're here to talk about the CONEXPO-CON Tech Talks. So this is made possible by John Deere Construction and Forestry, Link Belt, Steel Wrist, and Trimble. So we'd like to thank those guys for helping us out, put this together for us. Today we've got some experts here. I don't know if we call them experts, but hey, it is what it is. But we're gonna be taking questions from you guys. So really, there's a thing at the bottom of the screen. If you see that, it says "Ask a Question." You guys pop on that, and then we'll look at it as we're going along here, and then we'll answer your questions. So we'll have the experts over here answer questions for you, and then we'll get going from there. So let's get to it. So machine control. Who out there likes machine control? I think we all like machine control. That's why we're all here. But let's talk a little more about it. It's getting more and more popular. And so the gentlemen I have on my right here, they all have something to do with machine control. Their machines are all ready to roll. So let's get to it. We got Tom Gardocki from New Era Excavation, also known as the Dirt Ninja. We got Brian Dietz over here, with Bob Dietz and Sons Excavating. And we got Shay Stutzman from Stutzman Gerbaz out of Aspen, Colorado. So Tom, throw it over to you.
My name's Tom Gardocki, co-owner of New Era Excavation out of Londonderry, New Hampshire. And we primarily do high-end custom new home work, all the site work associated with it. So everything from septic systems to hooking up utilities. And we've gotten into more small commercial projects. I did a couple roads this year, so that type of work. It's myself, business partner, and we have 4 employees. We utilize a lot of grade control pretty much on every single excavator that we have, and a lot of the other technologies of attachments and tilt rotators and stuff like that, all incorporated with it all. So we actually have a video over here kind of showing some of this stuff that I filmed yesterday. So let's check it out.
Very cool.
Hi, my name's Tom Gardocki, and I am co-owner of New Era Excavation out of Londonderry, New Hampshire, and otherwise known as the Dirt Ninja on social media. Today I am out at the Utility Expo in Louisville, Kentucky, and I am here in the Steel Wrist booth to show you a tilt rotator in the Steel Wrist, grade control in the Trimble Earthworks platform, and a zero-turn new excavator in the Link Belt 145. So let's hop right into the machine and show you how it all works. So what I'm going to show you guys today is how the Steel Wrist tilt rotator works together with Trimble Earthworks along with incorporated into the Link Belt machine. So a little tidbit about Link Belt is that you can actually buy Trimble Earthworks from the factory built in 2D. If you want to go to 3D, you can upgrade to that. One of the great benefits about 2D grade control is really the use of it and the reduction of labor on the job site that the 2D grade control system works. And one of the biggest things about it is reducing people from getting down into the hole, reducing your labor cost of somebody holding a grade rod for you. So right in the screen, it does everything for you. So here we have the Trimble Earthworks display. This is a 2D setup right now. So along the bottom, I have our cuts or fills to grade. So right now the green line is the grade I'm trying to get to, and right now it's telling me I am on the left-hand side of my bucket 1.35 feet away. Now, as I raise or lower the bucket or tilt or spin, all these adjust to tell you how far you are away from the grade. You can come in here. We'll set a depth offset. So you bench, the easiest way to think about 2D is just a grade rod. And the bottom of the grade rod is the cutting edge of your bucket. So think of it as the same way. You would walk over with the machine to your benchmark. You will hit 0. So see how the green line snapped to the bucket? Then we go in for an offset. We'll just do a simple hole of -4 feet and apply. So now our green line got lowered, dotted line is where you benchmarked. So now the machine is telling you how far you are away from grade. And as I move, it will adjust. The other couple things you can do, you can dig on a slope. So main fall is say 5%. That's coming towards the machine. And then if you want to get really fancy, you can actually set side tilt cross slope on the bucket. We'll just do 5 again. So now we're digging to a depth, a slope, and a cross slope all at once. So that's about as complicated as it gets. This system I would recommend using off of a laser. So what that is just a constant plane. So you can track around the whole job site and you swipe a laser catcher on the boom through the laser and it always uses that as a reference point. But that's the very basic of this. Now, if this was 3D, we would have an actual model of the entire job site here. And as I drove around, because you're connected to GPS, it knows where you are in the world. It shows you driving around on the job site. But this is just 2D, so it's just local to this exact machine. A little bit about the steel wrist. So it is a tilt rotator, which means that the attachment tilts and rotates the bucket 360 degrees. And those together really help, again, reduce your labor costs on your job site. There's a lot less handwork. You know, the tilt rotators really pay for themselves in grading, backfill, and digging in tight areas around utilities. They're awesome. It's all about reducing that labor burden on your job site. So if you end up wanting a steel wrist on your machine, you do have to have the joysticks replaced, which any dealer can do, or the manufacturer. There are a lot of functions. You have tilt, rotate, there's a pincher grapple. You can add all sorts of attachments. We have a lot here that you can see that you can add on. So you need extra buttons on the joysticks. So they come with all the rollers, buttons, there's rollers on the back of the joystick. So those all get replaced, and that's how you control the steel wrist. So one of the nice things about this link belt is very smooth to operate. It has what's called spool stroke control, and what that is it uses a combination of pilot controls feeding electronic controls. So a lot of machines these days have just electronic controls, and you lose some of the feel in the machine and in the joysticks. With this system, you still get that through the joysticks. So I think what we're going to do is I'll kind of show you on the screen here. I'll enter in some offsets. Maybe we're just doing a little trench here. I'll dig that, and I'll just kind of show you how the tilt rotator works in conjunction with earthworks. All right, so here's a very basic demonstration. We're going to use that as our bench point to zero out the system. And then we want to do a 4-foot offset. So now I haven't moved the bucket. I'm 4 feet away from grade. My dotted line is up there where I benchmark. Green line is where I'm trying to get to. Now you see as I move and go down, constantly is telling me how far I am from grade. It's literally that easy for a basic excavation. And you can see how the steel wrist coupled with the system, you can see the bucket spinning and adjusting. And if you tilt side to side, you can see the bucket go up and down. So it's taking into account all of that. The machine has built-in sensors on the dog bone, on the stick, and on the boom, and on the house of the machine to give you those grade readings. So as I keep digging, Nice thing about the tilt rotator is I'm doing an offset dig right now, so not in line with the machine. There's less moving of the machine with a tilt rotator, so you save undercarriage. A lot less labor involved in digging because you can get the bucket in all those positions. So see, I went a little too deep there, so if I go up, I'm pretty much right on grade. So if this was a house or just a box excavation, you're to grade and you just keep digging. And like I said, if you had 3D, then you'd have the whole house actually in the machine here, and you wouldn't have to do anything besides possibly put in some depth offsets just like we just did. So that's a big thing, is realizing the difference between 2D and 3D, because 2D is pretty cheap to get into. You get into 3D, you start to need a base, a rover, you need the equipment on the machine. Now the nice part is if you are using Trimble, everything that is 2D, if you've got 2D first, you can upgrade to 3D, and you literally did not waste one penny because everything in 2D goes over to 3D. So that can help you get into this. And get the bucket into some funky positions. Even though it only tilts 45 degrees, you can actually, with the combination of tilting, you can actually get it a full 90. And you do have the gripper on the back. That's handy for grabbing any pipe, buckets, just moving things out of the way, logs, anything on the job site. You can pick up a compactor with it. Again, all about saving labor on the job site. And one of the great things about these tilt rotators and steel wrist is they have quick oil systems. So this is your quick oil setup. So this is the bottom, so your coupler comes in here and connects into here. So as I was saying, there's no external hoses to hook up, everything is internal, and also your electronics would go through there as well for your grade control. Thanks for watching, guys, and if you're interested in learning more, you can head out to the Steel Wrist booth and learn a little bit more about Steel Wrist, Trimble, and Link Belt. All right, so we just checked out that video, and you can kind of see how the grade control works in the machine, kind of get a little sense of it, basic overview, kind of see how it incorporates with the tilt rotators. So kind of cool, everything works together really well. So I guess I'd just say, like, a couple of the main reasons we invested in technology and attachments and tools and different things like that is really for efficiency. It's doing more with less. I think we probably all have the same problem of finding people right now to fill our spots at work, and utilizing some of this technology. The grade control is eliminating somebody from being in the hole and holding a grade rod. That person can be running your wheel loader or doing something else on site. And then you have all these new attachments that just save labor, and shoveling and all those things of just reducing your labor costs and making you more efficient on the job site is really what all these technologies are about.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that 100%, Tom. So next we have Brian Dietz from Bob Dietz and Sons. Brian, give us a little more information about you guys.
So my name is Brian Dietz. I'm the VP of Bob Dietz and Sons, Inc. It's a family business. My father started the business back in 1976. And we're in the Hudson Valley in New York, about 2 hours north of New York City. And we're doing residential site works. We're doing a lot of large homes in that area, a lot of weekend homes for people coming up from New York City. So we're also doing some light commercial work on some different distilleries and golf courses and projects like that. So we're able to use grade control utilize it every day. We've got Basin Rovers running around our sites. We're modeling all our sites now, and we're seeing huge advantages to that. One thing that we got an opportunity to do was to check out the new CTL with the smart grade option yesterday. I think we got a video that you can watch my brother Tony operating and explaining how that's going to work.
Hi, my name's Tony Dietz. I'm from New Paltz, New York. We have an excavation, grading, and utility company out there. And today we're going to be taking a look at the 333 Smart Grade. It's a great machine. It's got a dozer blade attachment on it, which is very exciting. Coupled with the Smart Grade, should make for an easy day of grading. So it's something I'm looking forward to. I'll show you a few features that the machine has as we go through it. First, it has a 6-way blade, which is something that makes it very easy to use. And if we jump in the cab, we can look at the Smart Grade options. So if you jump in the cab with me, you see the first thing is we have a screen here. So the Smart Grade enabled, I have a plan that I'm able to see and actually see where the machine is located on the job site. It also shows me topos and the grade elevation of where the blade is and how I'm able to level that blade and use it around the job site. As we get started, you'll see I'll be able to cut grade, either both manually and actually physically operating the dozer blade and using it. And then also I'll be able to click with just a button right here on the stick. I'm able to click into autos, and the autos will come out with a perfect plane. The machine itself is very capable of pushing a decent sized load, and you'll see as I grade this, you'll be able to see how much I can get done and how efficient it is. So let's get started. I'll close up the cab now, put my seatbelt on, and you'll be able to see what I can do. So by using the model, I'm able to find where I am on the location as well as see the grades. For example, if you look at the screen right now, it's the blade itself is pretty much on finished grade. I can click this button and that will push down once I activate the hydraulics. And we're right on finished grade, so we're able to start grading now. What I'll do is I'll take this pile, I'll start grading it around, push it out a little bit, and then you'll see me put it back. So let's get started. So first I click into autos, and I'll show you just how I can be able to cut this pile right to what I want as finished grade. So you see both sides of my blade coming right around the model, and I'm able to follow this right around. Now if you watch, as I go up on grade, you see the blade turning up to that same angle as the model shows. So we're able to play with that, and we can easily move around the job site, grading what we want. Now we'll play with this. I'm going to click it off of autos and show you how you can grade manually. So grading manually, just pushing up some of this dirt, you get a little, the machine starts to bog a little bit, you pick up, and you're able to grade a fairly decent ramp, but you can see you are just like most dozers. You're able to cut and fill, but it's not perfectly smooth, at least the first pass. Now I can, even though I'm not right on grade, I can start playing, turn it on, and see how close we are. So as you can see, the dozer blade's going up in the air, which means that I am low, which can easily be fixed in the next pass. And if you look at the screen, you see that I need to go down about 0.4. So as I cut that flat, you can see how the blade's wanting to go by itself. What I'll do is I'll come back up, take another pass, and here's, you can see where finished grade is. So now if I just slowly move forward, it's creating that perfect plane for me. My hand isn't even touching anything. As I go off the model, you see it start to curve down on the edge. So now I'll go back, I'll start cleaning up the edges. We have a little more dirt. So we can click into autos. It's again cutting to that perfect plane. I'll turn around now, push that dirt back and make my ramp. In order to tell if I'm in autos or not, I just simply look at my screen. There's a little section that shows up yellow if the autos are on. You can also physically see how far above or below grade I am at all times. So it's something that really you start to see profitability very quickly, because as you start to grade, there's no coming back and changing it. I feel that, you know, it isn't something that's going to go away. It's something that's going to be here forever. So I feel like pretty much everyone in the industry needs to start switching over too, if you haven't already, because it not only makes you more efficient now, but it's something that you're going to be using at some point. Probably not in the too distant future. If you look at the screen again, you can see that I'm following that model right around. And I'm able to, you can see where you're located, and you can go right down that cut. Now in something like this, where those topo lines are stacked and the grade's really dropping off steeply, I won't be able to use the automatics on that, but again, no problem. You just switch into manual, and I should be able to cut that grade using, now I have I'll spin around, I'll have a finished grade. I'll have a finished grade on the slope and a finished grade down the bottom. And you should be able to see exactly. Get back in. So now we're running on autos again. And I should be able to put this grade hopefully right back.
Okay.
So it was a nice little video. We get to see how that CTL works with the smart grade option on it. Most of you guys are probably familiar with how grade control works at this point. It's a great feature, allows you to model your projects. You can load that file into your machine, and then the grade control takes over, and you can have your operators grading at efficiency. You can really cut down the amount of passes, a lot of the repeat work, the guesswork. It takes it out of that, which creates a good environment. It's a happier environment for the guys working. It just gives them a lot of confidence in what they're doing and performing every day. So it's great to see that in that video. Some of the things that machine could be used for, places that you can't fit a dozer in, when you're cutting curb lines, if you're in tighter areas, if you're doing carports and things like that, there's some huge advantages to that. So if you're thinking about doing it, what's neat now with that specific machine is it's actually upgradable. So you can buy it smart grade ready. It's fully upgradable later, so you don't have to commit to the whole thing. And so that across the industry, those kind of options are coming out for us, which is really nice. If we're hesitant to make the full investment, you can start with a 2D, you can then move up to a 3D, indicate only, and then you can move forward into the autos. And so we're seeing that in our fleet, where we're able to implement those things and really find what's specifically needed at the time, and then we can grow with it. And so we're thinking that those things can be beneficial to everybody across the industry. Some other things too that we're working with is in excavators. When you're digging foundations, grade control really eliminates the amount of people on the ground. We're not waiting on layouts, markouts, pulling tapes off of stakes, offsets, all those things. There's a lot of time loss. In New York, where we're at, the surveyors aren't readily available to continue to do layout and support us. And so by utilizing the GPS, we can put those marks right back. We can also use total station and talk with the machines, upgrade the machines a little bit with a prism, and you can go indoors, you can go under tree canopy. There's a lot of ways that this stuff is just totally revolutionizing the efficiency of our day and how quickly we're able to accomplish work. And in our company, we're only working about 12 people. So we're able to open up different sites by using our guys instead of support for the machine. The guys have the knowledge, they have the information in front of them constantly on that screen. They have the confidence, they know where they're at. And so those guys that were doing layout, 2 guys doing layout for that machine all day long, they can go and get in a machine themselves. They can be in a truck, they can go to a different site. And so our small little team is able to do so much more and go to different sites. So I think that's something that's been real good for us.
Thanks, Brian. Another thing, we haven't really talked about this. Maybe Shay, maybe you can kind of touch on this. Is the material savings, not just the labor savings, but the material savings. When you got that GPS going, and you got the smart grade control stuff going, you can cut that right to grade, and you put right back in the exact amount of material that you need to put back in, so you don't have overages. So that's another thing we need to touch on. Also, you guys watching, tuning in, there's that little ask a question down at the bottom. Feel free to do that. That's what we're here for. We're here to answer any questions that you might have. And I'm sure that between the 4 of us, we can answer that for sure. But let's move on to Shay Stutzman from Stutzman Gerbaz out of Aspen, Colorado. Shay, why don't you share us a little information about what you got?
Thanks, Ryan. So I'm Shay Stutzman. Our company's out of Aspen, Colorado. The company was started in 1960 by my grandfather. It's been passed down to my dad's generation. And then luckily enough, I was able to become part of that company. We specialize in high-end residential, commercial, deep utilities, and also deep foundations. The utilization of machine control for us has been tremendous. It's allowed us to be so much more effective, so much more efficient, utilize and to have that on a machine that wasn't really an option. We went to one of our providers and asked, hey, can we use the machine control on a track loader? And they looked, they researched it, got back with us, and lucky enough we're able to provide a solution. So we're digging foundations with track loaders where the guys aren't getting out of the machines. They know exactly where their overdig is. They're cutting right to subgrade. So for us, it's really a vital part of our organization. I don't think that we would be near as effective with the amount of people that we have. We run about 50 guys, and that 50 guys is so much more effective, so much more efficient because of what machine control allows them to do on a daily basis. Their job sites are cleaner, they're more organized because you know exactly where you are on your project, you know exactly what you're doing, what elevation you should be cutting to, and the waste is really significant. So when you talk about this, it's a really neat product to be able to have with the machine control, but there's a cost benefit analysis, and we're seeing a huge return on investment, and lucky enough, we're really lucky to have a guy who's really good at crunching the numbers, and we're seeing big savings right around 8 to 12 months. And it's for that amount of savings to be realized so quickly is pretty tremendous. So we, at this point, I don't know that we could do our job without machine control.
Well, and that's, what we're talking about. Like, what kind of savings do we have with machine control? So, as far as like being here, the applications that we see, what are some things that maybe people don't think about out there?
One thing that we've seen as a massive advantage is there's always a delay on a job. You're digging a foundation, and the soils are different than there was thought, so that you got to wait on an engineer to come out and look at the soil. There could be days lost. We're able to stop that part of the project, move to another part of the project, and continue going. The trucks that were exporting that soil can start importing rock, and we can lay a foundation, for a parking lot right away. There's no lost time. We just track to the other side of the project, and you keep going because it's all in there. There's not wasted time for layout. So that's been huge for us. We just don't have downtime. The machines are moving. When a machine comes off of a trailer, it can go straight to work. Even if no one's been on that site to do layout, obviously you have to localize and you got to get your control points, and there's a process to it. But once you start implementing that process across your sites, the ease of work, it's tremendous. It completely changes. And sometimes we're scared of these things. We're scared to change. We're scared to start with new technology. But if you look throughout your life and you look at different things, the advancements of things like the smartphone, how it has changed our lives, you can't go back to not having that. You have everything at your fingertips. And that's the reality, is it gives you the information that you need to move forward every day.
Yeah, it's so true. Like getting your people to adapt, that could be really difficult or it could be really easy. It just depends on how much your people want to change and how much they want to learn about the new technologies. Like we're here at Utility Expo, and it's more or less like, underground contractors. But really, like, what do you guys think as far as these contractors here? How could they use it for their everyday operation? Like I have some ideas, but what do you guys think? Like they're putting in pipes every day. So they're having to deal with what's under the ground every day. So what do you guys think? Shay, you got an idea. Tom, you got an idea. We all have ideas we can figure out.
Yeah, so what we've found, we've done 2 roads this year, and as we put in all our utilities, we shoot it all with the GPS, so it's saved, and then that actually gets sent to the town, so it's all on file. So if sometime down the line somebody needs to come back and find something, or maybe they're going to run a new utility or something, they already know where everything is, right? It's one thing to have the plan, but it's also another thing to know exactly where it was actually installed.
Yeah, and it's so true. It's like, Shay, you touched on this too. Not just road work that can utilize grade control. It's also doing pipe. Like you said, you can mark pipe. You know exactly how deep to dig your trench. Yep. So you put that all in your machine. At first, you dig it down. You require 6 inches of gravel underneath your pipe. Well, you dig it down 6 inches. You're putting exactly 6 inches of gravel in that ground. You don't have an overage. And you know exactly what you got to have. The quantities.
100% right. I mean, that's the quantities. It's a big deal. I mean, we're all looking, in this time and, in this day and time, we're all looking to save as much money as we possibly can. So not wasting any materials is a big deal. But Tom said, I mean, as-builting the pipe as we go along, our excavator is now the surveyor that's using the tip of the tooth to as-built the pipe. We come across a gas line or something that we weren't expecting. We're using the excavator to also do the as-builting on that. Then lucky enough, our survey engineer is able to download that at the end of the day. He's able to then daily progress our as-builts, which we can send off to whomever requires it. But I think for utility guys, being able to put in pipe exactly where it needs to go, not having to have your stakes, your offsets, 10, 15 feet, whatever they are away, pulling tapes, getting the old transit out or getting a laser out to check your elevations, utilizing machine control in a trenching application or utility installation application, I think has been one of the biggest advantages for us. It really has been. And for me, the trench safety, it's dangerous, right? Nobody wants to have a guy in a trench, as little as possible, right? And that's probably my biggest thing as a company, is making sure that the guys are safe inside trenches. So if we can limit the amount of time that an employee is in a ditch, that's all the better. And being able to use machine control in a utility aspect is tremendous.
Well, and you see some of these guys out there, the old school, they've got a stick. And they're running along the side of their trench, making sure that they're at grade, right, with the stick. And now it's right in your machine. And like you said, Shay, it's a tip of your tooth. Yep. That's the bottom of your grade stick, really, right? And so, those are the things that the grade control helps with. So it's just one of those things where, man, there's endless possibilities. In my opinion, there's endless possibilities.
It's amazing too, because like you said, endless possibilities. There's things you don't even think of that become huge advantages. A concrete truck comes into site, gets stuck. As he's leaving, he tracks mud all the way out your road. Well, that road's mottled. The dozer comes out and scrapes that road off without tearing the road up. He takes that mud right off of there. and it doesn't seem like a big deal, but when you see the dozer come out and clean that up and it's gone, you didn't lose 2 hours. There's not mud out in the road. Now you got guys sweeping the road. There's so many little advantages. Or you're going to put a pipe in, and before you lay it, the dozer just goes over and cuts that hillside flat and cuts a path. There's no model for that. He just wants to go, I just want a blade level and come across. Now the excavator's set up level, and it's clean, it's safe, your benching is clean, everything's done because you started your process on the right foot. And that's what it's allowing us to do, is just like start in the right place and move forward.
Yeah, so true. So one thing I'm going to ask all you guys is, where do you guys want to see machines go? Where do you guys want to see in the cabs? What do you guys want to see integrated into the machines? There's a lot of things out there right now, technology-wise, that are maybe out in left field that we don't know about yet. But what's some of the things that you guys think that should be integrated in the machines that can make our lives as owners easier, as well as our employees' lives? The rest of our team. Like, what can make our team more efficient? Like, what can we put into these machines to make them more efficient? To make our guys more efficient?
Just more technology, more information. The more information I can give my guys, the better. The more information you got on the job site, the faster they can work, do it more efficiently, cut to grade, know where everything is. Just having that 3D model in the machine, it's like, okay, even when you start the job, when you're stripping the site, like, where are we going to stockpile the topsoil? Like, you have the entire site is right there on your screen. So just the more information you can pack into there, all your sets of plans could be in there maybe in the future. So, everything right there at your fingertips, the more the better, I think.
Yeah. And I think personally, that, the bigger the screens on the machines with the cameras, the monitors for grade control, smart grade, stuff like that. That's the stuff that I think, in my opinion, should be bigger, should be better, and can you ever have too big of a screen in a machine? Yes. But really, if you need to have all that technology right there, really, it's one of those things where the more technology you can have in the cab with you, the better off you're going to be. The more room you have in the cab. I'm a tall guy. I'm 6'4", so it's, I like some room in that machine.
Yeah, I think that's important. There's a lot of ideas kicking around, big futuristic ideas of what these machines can do. And the reality is these things are coming to reality. We're going to see them sooner than we think. I think in the next few years, we're going to see a whole lot more automation. We're going to see the efficiency between machines being able to talk to each other. You've got all this stuff with technology on it, driving around your site, mapping your site, process that into something, feed us more information. There's so many little ideas that I know these companies are working on, and it's exciting to see that it's going to be beneficial for us because the reality is our work is hard. Every day is new. Every site is different. There's always a new struggle. There's nothing that's the same day to day. And so having that information helps you to have that as a constant. You have the ability to do the work, the experience is there, but the machines being a part of your team, not just a hunk of metal that's there that you can use, that machine is pulling its weight. It's part of the process, and the technology is completely changed our business. We're able to accomplish so much more by utilizing it. Again, same amount of guys, but we're 40% plus more in the amount of gross work that we're doing a year, that's mind-boggling numbers. They're just huge difference in efficiency.
So you guys do 40% more work in a year than what you did before because of
and it's growing each year. We're just, the guys that were hesitant love it because they realize that the information is right there at their fingertips. They're scared of it at first. They're like, I don't know how to run that dozer. You put them in it and let them grade, and then they don't want to get out of it. The truck drivers learn how to run the dozer just so that when they come in, no one else has to go over there. They can knock those piles down, and it's perfectly on grade. That's an efficiency that you can't get. You can't take a guy and teach him how to run a dozer and go over there and explain where it's got to go. He's got all that on the screen. It's a pretty great. These little things add up to a huge return on investment.
Yeah, very, very true.
I have to agree. I think it's what you said last. It's the little things, right? It's just if you try to like bite a whole chunk off at one time, it's a little bit more. There's a little bit more difficulty for people to kind of want to come in and sort of jump on the machine control. But if you feed it a little bit at a time, it's much more appealing. But I think answer your question, Ryan, of where do we want to see things go is we're all struggling with labor, right? Skilled workers out there are just, it's really just getting harder and harder to find. And I think that's more of a systemic problem, right? That we have, we really need to sort of educate our younger people to go into trades. You can make a good living being in earth moving or as a plumber or as an electrician. I mean, there's tremendous opportunities there. And I think that as a bigger picture needs to be sort of talked about a little bit more. But with that right now, currently, we just don't have the skilled workers out there that, back in the day when like I was growing up and you'd see these amazing heavy equipment operators that, they didn't need this stuff. And if they had it, oh my God, what they could do, right? Like it's mind blowing. But to be able to take that one step further and just help these newer, younger guys that weren't able to, grow up in the business, in the earth moving industry and have that experience, the ability to make the automation, right? So, it's one thing to run the machine, but you still have to kind of think about where you need to place your dirt, where you're going to stockpile, where you're going to put your, it's a lot of material management. So, I would think that as time progresses and we start maybe tracking how the machines are being, how they're moving on a job site, maybe we can help out with material management and how that moves forward.
Yeah. Yeah. There's just so many different things. I think we could talk about this probably for hours, but, we've doing this live and we've had some people that have come in. They've pushed the ask a question button at the bottom. And, so we got some questions here. Any of you guys can answer. All of you guys can answer. Dale from Minnesota says, do you have any specifics on how much labor it actually saves?
For us, I mean, we're very small. I would say it's at least 50%, and we're using 2D systems, GPS systems, also tilt rotators. We're using the quick oil systems for changing attachments. So we have a lot of attachments. So if you kind of put all that, I kind of call it all technology or, new things for at least the industry here, we're at least 50%. It's just saving. Guys can go do other things. It's tremendous. It's hard to really explain exactly how much time it saves. So it's just reducing shoveling because we have the tilt rotators and placing material and, there's very few companies around us that utilize the technologies that we utilize. And almost all the companies have at least twice as many employees as us. And we're doing about the same amount of work as they are. We got 4 employees. We don't have a full-time laborer. Of course, everybody chips in and does a little bit of labor, but we do not have a need to hire a full-time laborer at this time because of all these technologies that we utilize.
Yeah, and that's super nice. Like for us, I don't hire a specific laborer. He's a ground guy and also an operator. And because of the technology, I can take and instead of having him in the hole, he can go in the loader and move the dirt away from the hole with the loader. The whole time we're digging with the excavator, moving dirt out with the excavator, and that guy's over there running the loader. So that ground guy is eliminated. And really what he does is he goes from not my job, but he goes to somebody else's job. And so I utilize him somewhere else. A lot of these people think, well, you're eliminating work, you're eliminating the need for guys. For me, no, if I find a good guy, I want that guy to be with me. I want that guy to be a part of my team. So I'm going to put that guy somewhere else, where he can be utilized better and he can actually make us some money over here instead of just checking grade. So the teeth, like you said, Shay, that's keeping my grade.
Yep.
I'm throwing it out to the loader operator who's also a ground guy, but now he's in the loader all day. So we got 2 guys instead of maybe 3 guys. So what about you, Bri?
Yeah, we're seeing the same thing. We're using guys and we're trying to teach our young guys. You know, young people love technology. They you know, they're quick with their fingers and playing video games, and a lot of this stuff is similar. You know, you got a screen, you got controls. If you got a tilt rotator, there's a lot of, you know, toggles and buttons and rollers, and they're amazing. You get on it and pick it up real quick, and so that's exciting to see the potential there for our younger generation coming up. I think that they're excited that the fact that you know, you can do your own as-builts, and you can see what's in the ground before you get there. You walk out and you can just lay it out. When you walk around, you take anybody and walk them around a site with a rover, and you'll see excitement. There's no way that you can't get excited when you can walk right up and say, this is the corner of the building, this is the front entrance, this is the back, this is the loading dock. Definitely your site supers for the GCs you're working for blows their mind because they've never seen anything like it. So the efficiencies is crazy. But it's back to the labor, get a little sidetracked, but we've seen we can just utilize our guys more on every single site, every single day. They're not just dedicated as a laborer. They're also in a skid steer, they're in a loader, they're in, you know, dozer, they're in off-road trucks. All those machines are moving around. And coming back to what Shay was talking about, the safety factor is tremendous. We have less people walking around. When you're running dozers and, you know, excavator sits in one place, everybody knows that's the safety area, you know, that's a danger zone. But site trucks moving around, that's a whole different ball game. It's really, you know, it can be a scary thing with new guys not understanding the dangers. And so when they don't have to go in those areas, for us, that's a really big win.
Yeah. Shay, any idea on labor savings for you?
It's about, realistically, it's probably between 15 and 35%. When we'd usually run about a 4-man crew, and now we're pretty much down to 3-man crews. We have run around between 8 to 12 3 to 4-man crews, depending on the project. So for us, that's realistically the savings. I mean, we're tracking it. We want to know those numbers, and that's what we're really seeing.
Yeah, and that's a huge number, you know, and you get numbers all across the board here, you know, and every company out there is going to be different, you know, and how do they utilize their people? You know, if you have a shortage of people, then it's going to help you more. If you have enough people, then you can just do more work, right? So next one is Jim from Canada. What percentage of time do you use auto mode? And do you ever use a full-time auto mode? And this is without operator. So without an operator, that goes into the autonomous machines. And a lot of that's in mining right now. They're working on residential type of stuff, you know, general construction, but most of the autonomous stuff is in mining. But what percentage of time do you use auto mode? And do you ever use auto mode all the time?
Just since I have the mic, for us, we don't really utilize the auto mode all the time. I would say probably realistically, it's 5%. In my opinion, it's not quite there yet. I think that's one of the big improvements that we could see in machine control is a little bit better in automation. I think dozers and motor graders, they've kind of got it figured out. I think in the excavator, for us at least, it's been our operators are probably a little bit more efficient than the automatic. So I would say for us, it's probably about 5%.
Okay, which is very true. You know, the excavators, I think they're still working on. That's what we see as well. But I think the dozers and the graders, those things seem to be just spot on.
Yeah, I would agree. It's a small percentage of the time, and you know, if he understands the way grade control works, it's really to get that finish pass. So when you're bulking material, if you've got a 3-foot cut and you're cutting with a dozer, you're going to do that. You're going to run that manually. If you want to, you can create where you can just drop 2/10 and drop 2/10 and keep pushing across that, or whatever the number is, depending on the material. But yeah, you're getting into it's that final pass where instead of you grade all the way across and then you come back and you're like, nope, a little too low. And then the guesswork starts and then you're pushing back this way. You just come in, you lock in and you go across and it's one pass. Same with the excavator. And again, they're working on this stuff. This is new technology. So there are, there's little bugs that are getting worked out of it. But even with the bugs that we have, we're still seeing savings. We're still seeing the operators having the confidence to continue going, not second guessing, which honestly brings a lot of unity in your crew, because you're not second guessing the guy that did the layout. You're not questioning the guy that pulled the offset. The operator's not upset that he already had that all graded out. Now he's got to drop to get to the right grade. So I think that's, for us.
And like, that's another thing too, is like auto mode. Like you just touched on that, Brian. Like auto mode really doesn't get engaged until we're right close to grade. So as far as, being in auto mode all the time, like for me and my guys, we like to switch out of auto mode as soon as we're done pulling that grade. So we're coming up and we're swinging out of auto mode. We're coming back down in. As soon as we get back in down by the trench, down by our grade, then we switch back into auto mode. I don't know how you guys do it, but that's how we do it.
Yeah, same thing. The beauty is that on that screen, it'll tell you how far you have to go. So if you're making a pass and it says down 2 feet, you're digging with confidence. You know that you can take full buckets. You're not going to over excavate, and now you've got to replace that material or compact. So that's a real big advantage.
Well, and that's another thing too is, I don't know how you guys do it, but the way I've done it my entire career is I'm listening the audible. The guy that has a grade stick out there, and I've always heard that beep. And so now with the machine control in the cab, you can choose either audible or you can choose silent. I like to choose the audible. Tom, I know you like to be silent. You like to watch the screen and where you're at. But for us, we like audible. Everybody's different.
Yeah, that's the good part about this, is that all these systems you can really like almost customize, to a certain extent, but kind of set it up, per operator or how you want it as the owner or however, so you can kind of set that all up. But yeah, I mean, exactly what these guys said is in terms of autos, like you're only using that for the last pass. Yeah. So you still less than 5%, I would say I use it, out of a total job. Okay.
So like if you wanted to do, like, let's just say you had the choice to go no autos or autos, you said this is a price tag for the autos. This is a price tag to not have autos. Like how important would autos be to you guys?
I would very much agree with what Chase said about, I don't think that the excavators are quite there yet as well. But I think I have a Dozer on rent right now with GPS and autos. And I mean, you kind of got to be stupid not to get it on a Dozer at this point. If you're spending the money on the Dozer and the GPS, like you got to get the autos. It's pretty sweet. And the same thing with a motor grader, but hopefully the excavators will get there soon.
I think they will. Just give it some time, just like everything else. There's a lot more moving parts on that than there is like on a grader or a Dozer for sure. So.
I'd agree. The Dozer is amazing. If you get on a Dozer and you're grading, especially if you have a complicated slope, if you're on hillsides, we're working on a golf course, roadways that are got a lot of grade changes. That Dozer can go, I don't know how much faster it can go, but it's moving a lot quicker. You can't carry that grade by eye and be that spot on. You just can't do it. You can have all your layouts and all your stakes and all your, experience, and you'll get close, but you won't hit that mark consistently like that will with autos. And that for us has been a game changer. Having the ability to model that, modify the model right in the machine if you need to, create a simple slope, simple cross slope, having all that ability, even when you don't have a modeled project. If the Dozer's there and you just want to make a flat pad to drop a load of pipe on so it's nice and clean, you can just go in there and grade it flat. So having that ability doubles the usefulness of the machine in our world.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that, like I said, the Dozers, motor graders, fantastic. Excavators, we'll get there.
Yeah. Okay. This is a question from Chris from Washington. How have you changed your staff roles to effectively implement?
Directly for us, Ryan, we've created a new position where we actually hired a full-time construction survey engineer is what his title is. And, that was to help with the setting up the projects. The machine control is great, but it's quality input in, quality input out, right? So if you're not getting a really good 3-dimensional model for your machines to run, then you really aren't gaining anything, right? So for us, we've really added a position where now we've taken something that a bunch of us, a responsibility that a bunch of us shared, and have hired one individual to kind of champion that role. And what that's allowed to do is really help our company reduce the risk of error, right? So we're reducing the risk of error in the modeling. We're more consistent with our as-built practices. We're more consistent with our layout practices. And I think that the consistency has really helped the company as a whole become more efficient too. So because of machine control, it has required us to hire a full-time individual to help us with that project.
I think similar for us, Ryan. My brother Joe, it's his full-time job now. So we lost an operator, we lost a layout guy, and now he's just dedicated to getting that information, collecting that information, and then feeding that to all the crews, feeding that to the machines, making sure it's all up and going. He interacts with all the surveyors, and he gets all the CAD drawings, everything that he needs to create those models. So it's a full-time job there. However, even though we've dedicated that, we've allotted that person that time, which is a big commitment, but then our sites, our crews, our guys, they have so much more information readily available to them. His job before was a lot of layout, but he was running between sites. He was trying to pass information off. It's very hard to pass that information in its entirety, because he wasn't bidding the job. So he had to learn the job after it was bid. Then he had to collect all that information. Now he's got it all figured out exactly how it's going to go down. But then the operator comes in, he's going to put his twist on that, how he's actually going to perform the task. So it went through so many different layers, and things get lost in translation in time. And you're trying to, it's a constant struggle to get physically between sites to keep all that going. And so, now, we were driving over here and he got a phone call, and they were trying to do layout, and they were having issues with the rover, and he just walked them right through it. They were up and going, and they were back to laying pipe. So it's that's what's changed for us. We've dedicated him to it, but then he is in turn supporting all those machines that are running.
Yeah, again, I have the smallest company here, but our third employee that we hired is our technology expert, and we hired him because he had that background. So he builds all of our models. He sets up all our sites. I ask him what I need to buy, in terms of, the GPS technology. He has other roles. He does everything just like everybody else. But, for being such a small company, we're relying very, very heavily on this technology. So we had to hire, we hired a technology expert, I'd call him for sure, before a laborer, so that's how important it is to us. And, he's also giving us quantities. So when we go to bid a job, he's running it through software, giving us all quantities. So it's just saving myself and my partner's time on, doing quotes and things like that. So.
Yeah. So, and he has the ability to run equipment as well, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Everybody kind of does everything with us, but that's kind of his main role, why we hired him.
Yeah. So, for us, we hire a surveyor who also has the ability to do the modeling and the layouts, things like that for us. So he helps us a lot to do that stuff as well. And we just pay him a fee, which is nice. So we can keep our guys kind of going, doing what they're doing. And then I call on him, give him some plans. He does all the localization. He does all the setup. He does all that stuff for us. So that's something that, you guys out there, you guys can look into. There's people that do that for sure.
Yeah. And I just want to maybe explain, because a lot of questions I get is like, how do you actually make this work in the machine? And like, what is a model? So everybody here gets, plans, right, for the site. So you have to take those plans and turn them into what is called a 3D model. So when we talk about model here, that's what it is, and that's what gets imported into the machine. So you can't just take the plans that get emailed to you and throw them into the machine. It doesn't work like that. You got to either have somebody on your staff or hire somebody to convert those plans into a 3D model, and then you put them in the machine. And initially, when you go out to the site, you do a site calibration, which basically just sets your site up correctly orientation wise, and you're also checking elevation that it's all correct, and then you're pretty much off and running. That process for us can take, I don't know, usually our sites to set up are like 2 hours, for our guy, and then he's going ahead of the operators, myself or one of our other operators, and all we do, we show up, we throw the GPS heads on the machines. He's already got it loaded in. You hop in the machine. It literally takes 5 minutes to turn on, get the program running and everything, and you can start working. And you know where everything is. And there's no grade stakes.
Yeah, and there's no guesses. Super nice. Super, super nice. So this is a question from Steven. So does smart grade work with other attachments? If we're talking about specifically John Deere smart grade, I don't know that it really does yet, but smart grade is more of a top con type of thing because it's John Deere. I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's probably talking about grade control in general, right?
Yeah.
So the one thing you can do, if you have different attachments for, I don't specifically do this, but it is an option. You can set up different buckets. So if you've got a grading bucket or a ditching bucket, or depending on, they have to calibrate the geometry. You put that in the machine, and basically it tells it where the tooth is or the cutting edge is at that point. So that's just something that has to be a little bit adjusted in the machine. But yeah, you can use it depending on what your specific use is for that machine.
We utilize that all the time. We actually have all of our excavators set up with a quick oil system, and through that quick oil system, also the electronics is able to go through that as well. So we're not only using regular buckets, we're using tilting buckets. We haven't really touched too much on the tilt rotator stuff, but we're switching back and forth in buckets all the time. So we may be in a really hard rock application. We're throwing the hammer on, hammering real quick. Then we're putting the digging bucket on, or like a rock bucket. And then that is also calibrated to the right geometry so that bucket's getting down to the right thing. Then we put the tilt bucket on to do all the final passes. All of that can happen within 10 seconds, but that through the electronics in that quick oil system, we are able to switch all of our attachments and buckets. I mean, we could run it on a hammer if we really wanted to. You could program that tip to make sure that you weren't hammering below grade. We haven't gotten that far yet, but it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, I know Tom does that too with his hammer. He's got a big hammer that he does his stuff with. So I think this one here from Mike, we've already kind of run through this one, but Shay, since you have the mic, how much office side non-field time is needed to program grade control to be efficient and effective on a project?
So like I said, we're about a 50 employee total company, and we have dedicated one person full time to deal with basically championing not only surveying, modeling, and as-built as a whole. I would say 25% of his day is adjusting the modeling that comes in, because as we all know, plans and job sites change not only daily, but sometimes multiple times in a day. So he's having to take a set of plans, go back to the office and integrate that plan in the model. What's really cool about some of the newer stuff that we've been able to do is uploading and downloading. So now he's sitting in his office, and he's, instead of taking that USB stick out to the machine, driving 15, 20, 30 minutes, whatever it may be, he's now able to sit at his computer, upload that model to the machine, and then take the old one off so there's no confusion from the guys. But then he's also able to take the as-builts that the machines were taking, all the points that they set, download that back, and he's being able to be a lot more efficient with the uploading and the downloading. But I'd say for modeling, about 25% of his day.
Okay, thank you. This one's from Neil. Do you run mixed fleets or other brands of GPS? I'm just going to answer this one because I kind of know your guys' background. You guys pretty much have just one brand that you guys use. But you guys, thank you for today. And want to throw out a huge thank you to John Deere Construction and Forestry, Link Belt, as well as Steel Wrist and Trimble for sponsoring this program today. And you guys, Tom, Brian, Shay, appreciate you guys being here, being with us. And we'll see you guys at CONEXPO-CON AG 2023. Is that right?
We're excited, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, we're excited for it for sure.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.